Sometimes it's so easy to be impressed by fast movements, by lots of energy and lots of passion, but today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite second movements, a slow and calm piece that is so worth playing. I'm talking about the second movement in Mozart's F major sonata K332. The whole sonata is actually one of my favorites. It has a very playful first movement, an explosive third movement, who doesn't like that? But the second movement is just so beautiful, and it has actually something rather special. As a lot of Mozart's second movements, it's very lyrical. And also, like a lot of second movements, slow movements in this classical time period, it has a lot of ornaments. Now the structure of the sonata is actually really simple. It's really short. It has only a few different themes. You have the beginning theme. You have the same theme coming back in minor. And then you have a little short section before it ends, actually on a long trill. And then, that's just a little short summary, there's of course more in between happening, but then after that long trill, the entire piece is repeating. It's basically a complete repetition. And the only thing that changes is that it just changes in tonalities. But despite the modulation, all the themes are still exactly the same. So what is really interesting is that actually in all the editions I've seen, there are two versions printed. The first version, according to Mozart's autograph, so what he wrote himself by hand, is an exact repeat of the movement. Exactly, precisely. The only change that there is the modulation, but once again, all the themes are still the same, just in a different tonality at the end. This second version here, it is the first edition versions. So that is according to Mozart's autograph, but this is according to the first edition. So as you see, it's a very playful kind of variation, and that continues throughout the rest of the repeat, so throughout the rest of the piece. For example, in bar 26, Mozart's original version, but the first edition, the variation version, so in other words, it's just a really fun way to make the repeat more interesting. And that actually gets me to my next point. Have you ever wondered in classical sonatas why there are those repeat signs? Like, you finish the exposition and there's a repeat sign. I mean, I love classical music, but isn't that just a bit boring? Well, that is because basically in the time of Mozart, actually they were extremely skilled at improvising. And it wouldn't be very common to play a repeat of something without improvising. A difference between Mozart's autograph and then Mozart's first edition reminds us of how amazing classical composers were at improvising. And to be honest, we kind of lost that skill as classical musicians. So I hope I have awakened in you a little bit of an ambition to improvise a little bit. Perhaps as an exercise, the next time you play a classical sonata, whenever you see a repeat sign, just try something different. Add a few ornaments, add a little run, add a little scale or arpeggio. It's really fun. And it doesn't have to be pretty. It can just be fun. So I also want to leave you with one more thing. This second movement, like a lot of second movements, like a lot of slow movements, is very lyrical and very beautiful. But how do you play it beautiful? What I love about piano playing is that is not just a matter of talent. It's nothing mysterious. It's just good old knowledge and applying knowledge. So let's take a look. Music is built in sentences. Those sentences we call phrases. If you look at the first phrase, basically it's the first bar, right? So something happens. we go somewhere, and it kind of ends, right? We take a breath to take the next sentence, so that's the next phrase. Oh, I'm playing in minor, sorry, it's major. It's exactly the same phrase, just a little bit higher. And all you have to do is you have to analyze, where does a phrase start, where does a phrase end. And honestly, I have taught so many students and they always think they cannot understand where a phrase starts and finishes. But always when I ask them, most of the time they're right. Give it a try. Just do what you think would be a sentence, and then remember, a sentence in our spoken language always starts with a capital letter, it has some stuff inside, right? And it ends with a, what's it called? I'll have to look that up just a moment. Don't worry, I know it in my own language. A period. Okay. Okay, so it ends with a period or an exclamation mark or something else, right? The same is for music. You have the same rules, so you have to keep to the same rules. Don't start with an accent. Don't end with an accent. Those are the most important things to remember. If you keep to those, your music is going to sound lyrical and more beautiful. So don't start. If you start with an accent, your playing is going to sound square and more wooden. So always ease into your phrases. You have somewhere to go, because you always have to go to a main point. Most important and most difficult, end your phrase quietly. It's like a wave, you go somewhere and you go back somewhere. So first step is you know where your phrase starts and ends, otherwise you can't do this, right? Second step is always ease into your phrase, never start with an accent, unless, of course, there's written an accent or a sforzando or something similar. And always end softly. Now, if you want to do even better, if you want to make it even more beautiful, try to play towards a point. In this case, it is pretty straightforward to assume that our most interesting point is going to be the E, right? That's kind of the most interesting note in this. Even if you're doubting, a little exercise, just remove the ornamentation. Ornamentation distracts a lot from the main message. So even if I don't phrase at all, I would say that's absolutely the most interesting point. The nice thing about phrasing is if I decide, I just phrase towards the D. Okay, it's not my preference, but it's not bad, it's not wrong. Music is not wrong, you know? So decide where it feels most natural for you to phrase towards. Make a tiny little decrescendo towards that, or make a little movement towards that, and most importantly, make a diminuendo after that, and make sure your last note of the phrase is the softest note of the phrase. That is how you make something lyrical sound really lyrical and beautiful. And remember, you can apply this literally in any piece. Fast, slow, it doesn't matter. After you're feeling comfortable enough with the notes, think about the sentences in music. And very often you're better at it than you think. Hope this video was useful to you. Oh, I think I forgot to mention, I actually emailed Henle to ask them why they printed both versions. I found that interesting. Why did they print both versions? I'm sure that this is not the first time that an autograph differs from a first edition. So honestly, I was a bit confused as to why this sonata is, like in all editions that I found, whether it's Henle, that what I have here in front of me, Peters, Breitkopf and Hartel, whatever edition I could find, it was all printed with these two versions. So I was actually very curious why. So if I receive an answer back from them, I'll let you know. And on that note, if you would want to keep up with everything that we do here on the channel, don't forget to subscribe. If you want to see another video specifically on a piece or on a composer, we have a playlist here of Chopin and a playlist of Beethoven as well. Don't forget to check out our piano stories playlist on Spotify. Dimitar's music is on there, you can listen. Some classical music is on there, also some modern classical music is on there as well. Just music that we like and handpicked. Just something to brighten up your day. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week again.